Ah!
まあ大丈夫かしら大役残りの
Because to grieve is to acknowledge the magnitude, the emotional magnitude of their losses. And they have to be desensitized. They have to suppress and numb their emotions out of necessity for survival. They have to keep going. Hello friends, my name is Benoit Kim, a UPenn educated licensed psychotherapist and a professional yapper at your service. Welcome back to my detailed psychological analysis of 86 episode 3. We are making progress. Last week's actions were absolutely peak, but of course I understand that it's not the battle scenes that make the show so special. Remember, you matter, you are worthy. Sit back and I hope you enjoy my reaction to episode 3. Oh, wow, okay. So I think this is the first episode since episode 1. We started with this quick glimpse of maybe potential conflict. Looks like someone with that blonde guy, he was upset. Maybe he was one of the handlers as part of the spearhead, since episode 2 was a spearhead. And we heard Lena saying over the comm, "I'm so sorry for the loss." Maybe someone died because of Lena's mistake. But very ominous starts, but it definitely foreshadows some sort of emotional / psychological conflicts to come. Meow meow.
これが本当のグランミュールの外に生息する豚野郎です。悪趣味だよハルト。受けがいまいちだな。
アンジは今日洗濯当番。
さすが詳しいねダイヤ。
てか他の
Oh, the blonde guy in the beginning that was very upset is this guy who's stirring the pot or making soup. Also, I think this scene with the red-haired guy bringing this wild boar for dinner has 3 significance. 1, again, back to my previous commentary, everyone within the Republic is eating synthetic food, synthetic life, a facade of utopia. But underneath that is the actual dystopic reality of harsh reality, dehumanization. But here, of course, outside of the Republic, the 86, they are the only ones who are marginalized, dehumanized as animals, yet they have the only access to eating real meat, real ingredients, real eggs. Second, obviously we see that that cat was very scared and hiding in the back, very accurate of skittish cats. But I wonder if this is a symbolic foreshadowing of some sort of a fear, more trauma, maybe even death in this episode. And third, the red-haired guy said, "Hey, you're supposed to laugh." But no one laughed. Because every episode we're seeing Spearhead, these 86 soldiers who are dehumanized, living a very mundane, air quote, normal day. Despite losing someone, despite fighting for their lives, literally every single day. The morning routine's always laughing, banter, sharing meals, sharing this fellowship together. As if nothing is wrong. As if they're not a part of the spearhead, the first precipice, first line of contact with potential death. But here, they weren't able to laugh. What does that say? Sure, they're seemingly having normal day-to-day routine, but deep inside, it's their desensitization, their trauma-based dissociation, and trauma-based apathy. And although they're sharing meals, they don't have access to, air quote, normal, full range of emotions, such as humor. Because they're barely surviving emotionally and psychologically through emotional numbing and suppression because they have to. So that was a very, very significant scene, although it seemed very unrelated.
食後すぐだったかな。
今昼前だけど。
ああ、そう。
この世の天国。
ダメダメ絶対ダメだと。
硬いこと言うなよお前。
We might die tomorrow, so let's go take a sneak peek at the river. I mean,
わかってる。あん。
俺は行かねえぞ。冗談じゃない。
he's definitely gonna go.
ある前に大切な仲間だ。大切な仲間だ。
He's definitely gonna go.
これで生めかしい格好だなと。どういうこと？見方を変えれば天国だ。お、え、お、素直に遊べ。
Oh, is Kaya not sitting in or joining on the fun because she knows dudes be dudes and they're gonna go take a peek? That's why she said this is heaven on earth. And I don't think anyone else got it, but obviously parallel to exactly what the guys were saying. Right now, River is heaven on earth. Let's go take a sneak peek. そうだそうだ。
私たちだけ水遊びしていて。そういうとこ真面目。
ごめんね、気が回らなくて。あんたもシンも当番ないんだから後日作って2人にしてあげればよかったわよね。
Oh la la.
私別にそんなんじゃないもん。だから違うってば。
Again, I think all this wholesome, very playful scenes about them river, kicking water, play, I guess just playing with each other, since social play is extremely important and crucial to our mental health, period. A well-lived life, a fulfilling life, a thriving life requires social engagements, social playtime. And I think all of this is part of the presentation to show this illusion of safety, illusion of normality, illusion of just another day. But of course, there could be a mortar coming any moment, and death could visit any of these 86 soldiers at any time. That is the uncertainty. And that's why the guy with the red hair who proposed taking a sneak peek, he's like, oh, we could die tomorrow. And sounds like he uses that excuse all the time to do lewd things. But the reality stands. He is not wrong. They could die anytime, which is reminds me of one of the saying of part of Stoicism, memento mori, definition right here, memento mori, which means contemplating death moment at a time. What that means is we have to acknowledge and confront our mortality to live a full life, to fully appreciate the full spectrum of what life has to offer. That's what memento mori is. Understand and internalize the fact that we are all going to die. So what are we going to do with this finite amount of time, whatever that may be? But of course, for them, death and the chance of death is all too real. And they can't really fully appreciate the full spectrum of life, although seemingly a normal, very playful hangout, because to them, mortality is not a possibility, but rather a near guarantee, a near certainty.
ちなみにカヤちゃんはどう？進行？
Stoic.
ちょっとカイエ！そうかそうか、別に誰も思いを寄せてないのなら私が狙っても構わないわけだな。ならさ、東方伝統の呼ばいに。
Ah.
別に私真のことなんて思ってないけど、その。
An Eastern lady. What does that mean? Eastern lady? Western? Does that mean 86, they're comprised of people of different nationalities and different ethnicities? Of course, as I talked about, the Republic is comprised of all the, I guess, the albino race, albino, white, silver hair uniformity, kind of represents the Aryan race from the Nazi Germany era, kind of similar concept. Whereas the 86 is comprised of diversity of thoughts, diversity of hair, diversity of their eye colors, their outfit, all that. But she said that Eastern lady needs to be reserved. So what's the actual compositions of all these people? Just different nationality people? Yo. Yo.
むしろダイヤが一番見てるよね。
Oh yeah, and he's like, I do not endorse this. He's the first one. He's the closest among three of them.
ダイヤってば何しに来たんだっけ？
お前らの監視だ。
To keep an eye on you too, but he has he's literally in front of them. Shouldn't you be in the back, Mr. Righteousness?
目標達成。構え。
Multiple targets.
お前ら正気か？
Ah! Boom, super significance. Remember what I said? Yes, this is part of their best efforts to engage in social play, despite the looming death threats, all that stuff. But anytime there's a pressure, anytime a situation necessitates their response, guess what? As soon as he was shoved out of the bush, they whip out their pistols instantaneously in uniformity. Every single one of them, no matter the one that was roasting at Kurana or the one that was being roasted, just splashing water, horse playing, when the moment becomes real, their true reaction comes out to reveal that all this social play is not a facade, but it is an illusion. It's not real, because the reality of death, that's the only real part to these 86 dehumanized folks. So all their response and their reaction, the instantaneous being in sync with the pistols whipped out, is one, the stark contrast with everything that just happens, the play dates, the playfulness, and B, their survival instincts. Their identity as a soldier is now the primary identity. Not teenage boys, teenage girls, but the identity of a soldier who is in battle, who is fighting for survival. Because if I'm not mistaken, I think these 86 soldiers, they're not that old, right? They're like young adults, maybe even 18, 19. Look at their faces. The facial expression changed.
ダイヤ、今までありがとう。
You'll be missed. Oh my god. Ow. Daiya-kun.
そこは可愛く大丈夫。
まあ大丈夫かしらダイヤ君。残りのも出てくるがいい。
Oh! Oh! Bullseye. Got him.
で
Busted.
何用だ。
何ってその
You know.
俺だからあれだ、ちょっとみんなに聞きたいこと。
So Daya must be the oldest because he became the scapegoat for the other two, because it wasn't Daya's idea. But what I do want to highlight is because Daya is seemingly the oldest, despite his innocence, although he's complicit because he still came with the other two, is there a sense of responsibility? Despite their own struggle, their own trauma, their lack of privilege or luxury to grieve their emotions, because our ability to grieve, to acknowledge and sit with all of our emotions, seeking therapy, social support, all of those are privileges. Do you think soldiers on the battlefields have opportunity for therapy or to grieve properly? No, they cannot grieve, because to grieve is to acknowledge the magnitude, the emotional magnitude of their losses. And they have to be desensitized. They have to suppress and numb their emotions out of necessity for survival. They have to keep going. But here, despite all that struggle, the difficult emotional and social context, Daya still decided to become the shield, the scapegoat, and still looking out for other younger folks. That shows to their humanity, despite dehumanization. It's super deep. And he's not the only one. I'm sure he's a microcosm of what the entire Spearhead and 86 represents. Despite them being rejected collectively by the Society of Republic, they're still looking out for each other when they can, despite their limited circumstances and limited capacities. It's very wholesome within this very bleak, dystopic setting.
女子ばっかでキャッキャウフフなとこにレイをつないでもな。
うっかり恋愛相談とかしてたらお互い気まずい。
Spot on, actually.
って言ってたとこだったし。それよ。今度シンが繋いできそうなとこでそれ言わせるのよ。どんな反応するか見ものだわ。
Nice.
クレナが。私そんなこと言ってないもん。ちょっとやめてよ。クレナって。
They were able to successfully divert the attention from them back to Kurana. I think they're gonna escape. Look at that fake laugh.
聞きたいこととは。
ダイヤ、
また俺？
Oh, poor Daya.
呼ばいって何？
Oh no. Yeah, what is yobai? I just know it's something maybe sexually intimate because Karana was blushing while I think Kaya was doing the yobai thing with Shin as a joke. What is yobai? Aww. Humanity. Limited humanity within limited circumstances.
ネズミが出ただけです。
適当すぎでしょ。
ネズミが出るのですか？
そうですね。
Is that a... I'm guessing it's a metaphorical rat, not an actual rodent? Lena's on the
来る
com.
な。
なんであんな女と毎晩みんなと一緒に過ごせてる大切な時間なのに。
Oh, Karana's jealous. And obviously not just romantic jealousy, but maybe she thinks it's a waste of time. Because Elena, she's just a handler, or she's just a processor. She doesn't care. She's an Alba. She's a white pig. What does she have to care about us? She's faking. It's all play pretense. So why is Shin indulging in her pretentiousness, her play pretense, her naivete? Why is he doing that? We might die tomorrow.
明日死んじゃうかもしれないのに。
今だけだって。そのうちお姫さんの方から繋いでこなくなるさ。お互いに暇つぶしたよ。
でも白豚なんかに気を使ってやることないんだから。
Exactly.
シン、あんなのとっとと壊しちゃえばいいのに。
シンだって別に好きで壊してるわけじゃねえだろ。っていうかね。お前それシンに言える？
Obviously, my speculation in episode 1 was somehow Shin had access to para-raid technology that most people don't have, and using either electromagnetic shock or sensor input to create frequency disturbance for the brains of so many processors who ended up killing themselves or retiring because of the voices of the dead. But looks like, based on what Daya is saying, maybe Shin doesn't want to do that. That's not his intention. But simply guilt and shame and all that denial and dissonance crumbling for all the processors who ended up killing themselves or retiring. Because you can compartmentalize and you can numb your emotions until you cannot. It works until it doesn't. Compartmentalizations is seemingly helpful until it stops working. So maybe that's that. But of course, Shin wants to maintain the best relationship with the processor because they're part of the unit in terms of survival. Although a key distinction is that Lena is physically removed from the actual danger in the front line in the battlefields. So there is that removed proximity for Lena despite her empathy.
気に食わないからシンのそれで壊してくれってあいつに言える？
Exactly.
ごめん。でもやっぱり許せない。
Makes
あいつら
sense.
白豚はパパとママを殺した。ゴミみたいに射的の的にした。
Jeez.
白豚はみんなクズよ。絶対に許さない。
So this is another deeper, a deeper layer of trauma that I didn't really talk about. Because based on episode 2, which was titled Spearhead, it sounds like 9 years ago is when the 86 were collectively outbanned and banished from the Republic, and they were stripped away their humanity. They were dehumanized 9 years ago. What that means is most adults who are of age in the Republic are actually aware of the situations. What that means, they're also complicit. They fully understand that these so-called 86 white, so-called pigs, 86 were of equal status. They had the access to the equality of humanity, equality of citizenship, equality of access up until 9 years ago. So by that sequence and by that logic, most of the Republican or the Republic citizens of the Republic are complicit in this collective decision to dehumanize 86 as a whole. So they're, I would argue, equally guilty, as a lot of the yappers pointed out on Patreon. But this is a tertiary trauma. So many of these 86 soldiers who, like I said, are seemingly young teenagers or young adults, they have so much trauma that's carried on that they have to carry because their parents were also victims of the dehumanizations, using them as shooting practices, which is unspeakable and literally what the Nazis did to Jewish populations and other prisons of wars and so on, POWs. Absolute atrocious atrocity everywhere. Shooting stars.
晴れてそれは見ものだったよ。
Mm.
本当にそんなにたくさんの星が？うん。とても数えきれなかったよ。本当ですか？
ああ、ただし
See, it's not just Shin. A lot of, I think there is a small, I think it's a smaller percentage, but at least few of the spearhead squadrons members, they're actually being responsive. They're doing venturing. They're going back and forth, and they're talking and conversing with Lena. And like I said, for humans, conversation is the most effective way of humanizing one another. Because through conversation, we share stories. We share our lived experiences about ourselves to each other. And through that sharing, through that discourse, through that conversations of sharing our lived experiences, we get to see our commonalities. We get to see and experience and witness the common humanity that, wow, we all look different. We may even speak different languages, different skin tone, maybe even different ethnicities and nationalities. Yet we share so many experiences because we are all part of this collective umbrella that we call human species. Like I like to say, same shit, different toilets. That's human. That's humanity.
も味方も壊滅した戦場のど真ん中、隣
Damn. Del Shin?
随分と色気のない。
おまけに揃ってジャガーノートがガス欠ではぐれてたファイドがさ
Wow.
状況でな。
Look at the level of indifference and how casual he sounds. He's literally describing a life and death scenario. Their juggernauts ran out of gas. They were stuck in the middle of a battlefield where the shooting stars were happening. And if Fido didn't find them, he didn't say this, but what he's implying is they all could be dead. Think about his nonchalance. Think about his indifference. Oh well, sure, we almost died, but Fido found us, and as a result, we got to appreciate the shooting stars. It's like, what? That is such an accurate and powerful portrayal of this limbo states, this limbo status all of them are under. Non-existent on paper, yet they carry this viscerally powerful and very real existence of human experience and loss, grief, trauma, all of the above.
俺たちの犬
Oh,
じゃなくて
robotic dog. Beep beep.
本当に恐ろしいほど暗いぜ。戦場の夜はさ。流れて空を埋め尽くす。あの時妙なことを口走ったのは俺の
Something sentimental. Something
最
poetic.
後に見るのがこれなら悪くねえかもな。
Wow. Corny.
たくこいつそれ聞いて鼻で笑ったんだぜ。
Hmm.
たかったです。流星。そちらでは見られなかったのか？
It's interesting what Lena said. I wish I can see that the shooting stars, right? But remember what I just said. The shooting stars that they witnessed is the scene of divine beauty they've witnessed was under the circumstances of life and death. Yet Lena, as empathetic and as attached and engaged she is with the squadron, as much as she cares and dignifies the lives of 86, physically, she's removed. She's never actually in near of a danger. Yet what did she say? I wish I could also see the same shooting stars because they share the same night sky. They're under the same constellation, despite the oppressed and the oppressive. I wish I saw those shooting stars, but she would never actually take on the risk of this life and death scenario. That's what made those shooting stars extra special for the squadron members who witnessed it, because of the context of potential death. And Lena will never experience that.
一晩中街の明かりが消えないので、こちらでは星なんて。
The lights in the Republic don't really shut off. You can't really see the stars here. Again, that's to highlight the synthetic, artificial, man-made nature of the Republic.
ほとんど見えないんです。はあ、そういえばそうだった。
The music too is so sad and sombering.
寝る頃には10日完成がかかる。だから普段も星が綺麗で。それは だ。
That's one of the good things of this life. Their love of optimism and hopefulness is undeterred by the radically high probability of death. Because you have to. The realists are often right, but optimists change the world. That's what they represent. Maybe optimistic nihilism, but regardless, they have to cling on to that hope. One of the biggest and the most accurate predictors of risk is hopelessness. Single-handedly, hopelessness or bleak state of mind is the single best predictor of suicide risk. That is the integral and the undeniable power of hope. Men without hope is nothing but a walking dead.
キルシュブリューテン、私たちを恨んでいますか？
A real question.
もちろん差別されるのは辛いし悔しい。収容所での暮らしは辛かったし、戦うのはいつまでも怖いよ。
Life in the camps was hard. I'm guessing that's like not like obviously not like gas chamber Auschwitz camps like the German Nazi era, but I'm sure camps where there were hazed, brutally treated, atrocious treatments, lack of blatant disrespect and all that.
だからそれを私たちに押し付けて、86は人間じゃなくて家畜だから構わないとかいうような奴らのことは
Bunch of horseshit.
なれないな。
Of course not.
けど、あなたたちアルバの全員が全員悪人じゃないというのも分かっているんだ。86の全員が必ずしも善人ばかりじゃなかったのと同じように。私は86の中でも珍しい人種だったから。収容所でも以前のタイでもいろいろあったよ。もちろん私だけじゃないだろうし、同じようにアルバにもいい人がいるのは。私は会ったことがないけど、仲間の何人かは知っているから分かってはいるんだ。だからアルバというだけで読んだりしない。そうだったのですか。
That's very deep. So obviously, she's talking about that's Kaya, right? I think Kaya is talking about the nuances, and this is the reason why stereotypes are unhealthy and unhelpful. Of course, there is some validity to stereotypes because stereotypes are the outcome of statistical normalization of a certain group, right? If there is enough air quotes statistically normal or statistically normalized behavior over time, that becomes a stereotype. And stereotypes are part of heuristics, definition right here. Heuristics is a mental cognitive shortcuts that humans do as part of pattern recognition to conserve our cognitive energy. But pattern recognition is flawed, as I talked about before. So here, that's what Kaya is saying, that not all white pigs are actually pigs, but they actually have the integrity and dignity of humans who treat us as if we are still humans, despite the dehumanization that happens 9 years ago systematically. Likewise, not all 86 are great. And that's I guess, the fourth layer of trauma that maybe a lot of the Republic isn't aware of, or maybe they're complicit of, is that when you, within this group of dehumanization, when your humanity has been stripped away by the system, it may activate and awaken a lot of the bloodlust and sociopathic tendencies, antisocial tendencies, according to forensic psychology. What does that mean? Oh, I do not exist, and none of my comrades exist as 86. The Republic banned us and banished us and dehumanized us as a system. Cool. I can be my worst self. I can bring out my worst behaviors towards my other 86 soldiers who are also dehumanized. Why? Who cares? We don't exist on paper. We are Article 86. We are AWOL by definition. So maybe inside the camps, that's what Kaya didn't say, but implying maybe there's rape, sexual assault, horrible trauma and horrible deeds committed none other than fellow 86 who completely forego of their humanity. Because why would humanity, why would dignity, why would integrity matter when our very nature of human being is not being recognized by the society? It's very deep. It's such a deep social commentary about what could happen even among the dehumanized to each other. We call that infighting, right? Man, so many layers.
私からも一つ聞いていい？
Heavy hitter question. Episode 3 is called I Don't Want to Die. Very fitting, and all that foreshadowing, everything has, the symbolically represented so far, all points to someone's going to die and someone will die. Yet, I don't want to die. That is such an universal and earnest far cry by all humans, because preservation and survival is in the very, very core of all our genetic wiring. Every species, our core instinct is preservation. Because once we can ensure our survival, Maslow's hierarchy, the bottom layer, necessities of survival, roof over our head, food, and all that. Only when we ensure our physical survival, then we can worry about anything else. But without physical survivor, everything else is obsolete. I don't want to die. That is a collective and individual far cry of every single 86 who's been systematically dehumanized. Oh man, my heart's already feeling heavy, although nothing has been shown yet.
なんで私がこんなこと。ランチおごったでしょ。ディナーもじゃなきゃ割に合わない。なんで今更地図が
Is
必
that
要
the
なわけ？
scientist?
彼らに送ってあげたいの。戦地にまともな地図がないまま戦ってるのよ。あら、また彼らの自慢。
Oh, okay. So Lena pleaded and requested the support of the scientist friend to share some maps to increase the survival likelihood of Spearhead. Very thoughtful, very empathetic. But like I said, she is physically removed from the actual danger. Her empathy represents empathy without the proximity.
実際すごいもの。この半月。
Ace units.
でもたまには顔の見える男との話を聞かせてよ。私なんて大変よ。見合い相手がさ。ベルトよ。おでこがここまである。
His forehead goes up to here, yo! Oh my gosh, that's savage.
ここってさ、お見合いの時にハンカチ貸したのが全ての間違い。だってここの
Another very stark contrast. So this is a parallel process of talking about love, romance, dating life, which is what the 86 did when they're washing up and play fighting in the river. Dating, shin, girls, boys, love. Here, the scientist and Lena are talking about the same thing, about the scientist's love life, dating, very ordinary experiences. Yet, the reality is so brutally different. She can talk about her love life at the protection and the far removal of actual danger. That's why it's a truly innocent love life, dating stories, and so on. Whereas for the 86, who are talking about the same content under such a different social context. Content's the same. It's about romance, dating, but the social context is dramatically different, as if they're from the opposite worlds from each other. Very dark.
気になるでしょ。そうね、気になる。全然聞いてないし。
That's a very good question.
いつだって先を読んで戦闘準備に入ってるんだから。ねえな、それ以上。
That's like the premonition that I highlighted in episode 2. How did they know which point? I think they were at intersection 308 they intercepted. And then when Lena came on the comm, she said go to 208, which would have been the optimized position for interception. Only if the spearhead already didn't get to 308, which is even more optimal location based on their primitive, some sort of a premonition ability. So I have the same question. How do they have access to this information? How did they know? Again, does Shin and maybe his parents, maybe they were the original founders of Para-Raid or some sort of a technology, so they have access to hidden technological advancements and aspects that even the Republic doesn't? Dehumanization again. Common humanity.
ちょっと大丈夫？信頼してるわよ。あったの？ディナーおごりね。ありがとう。これでまた力。
Look at another such a powerful irony. These two are wearing their mask because of the dusty environment of wherever they are to dig through the maps to increase survivalhood of 86. The only danger that they're ever approaching, the only danger they experience is dust, coughing, some sort of a respiratory impairment, if any. Yet, outside of their isolated, removed illusion of safety is the actual group of 86 who are literally fighting for their lives, literally facing life and death every single waking moment, every single day. Man, the contrast is unbelievable.
見えてないと。
Also, another question is, I respect Lena's efforts to dig through archives of records, maps, to support 86. But the thing about physical map is they're often outdated. So is there some sort of a lurking danger that Lena maybe missed out on because of the map? Because it's a physical map. But I'm sure with the battles with the Legion, autonomous androids, all that stuff, I'm sure a lot of the terrains have been changed over time, either through bombing and all that stuff. So I wonder if this physical map also symbolically and emotionally represents an illusion of safety, an illusion of control. Feels like the processors are in control, or the handlers, the Republic officers are in control, but they're not. It's an illusion because all of the risk, all of the death, all of the fatalities are actually internalized and taken up by the 86. Or am I overthinking as always?
パラレードアクティベート
Nightly routine?
同調対象スピアヘッドプロセッサー でした。
お疲れ様です。
Another day, another dollar.
お疲れっす。
毎晩ご苦労様。
なのですが、
Hmm? A cat?
申し訳ないのですが、もう少しお待
Oh,
ち
it's
いた
from
だ
the
けれ
other
ばと。
side. What is that?
猫
Meow meow.
こ
Aww.
こに配属されたばっかの頃に戦車砲を食らって吹っ飛んだ家の前でミーミー。
While Lena's taking notes about Kat, Lena really cares. But again, I wonder how her empathy without proximity shows up in this episode.
親とか兄弟はぺっちゃんこだったんすけど、こいつだけは無事。
Oh my gosh. Its parents and siblings got flattened? I just had this very grotesque, horrible imagery. But again, even that black cat, an orphan of war, symbolizes the exact same nature all of the 86. They're humans, but they're not. Their parents were also flattened out by the oppression of the Republic. Only difference is the 86, they're humanoids, and the cat is not. But they share the same status of a livestock of animals. Lack of humanity, lack of respect.
なぜかアンダーテイカーに一番懐いちゃったんだよね。
It's that alpha energy, which cats like.
いいベッドだと思ってんじゃねえのか。今だってそうだろあれよ。てか理不尽だ。改善を要求するぞ。ブーブー。
のですか？
黒、
白、
ニケ。
Wait, what? Whoa.
その今読んでる本の著者名で呼ぶのいくらなんでも適当すぎるからやめ。
たくさんいるんですか？
One.
話聞いてたの？
Just one.
足
That's also deep. So the fact that there's so many different names and labeling for a single black cat by the Spearhead Squadron, that's the same reality that 86 experiences. What are they called? The amount of labeling and names that's been forcibly bestowed upon them. Pigs, livestock, animals, non-citizen, unmanned drones with the juggernaut. There's so many labels that describe who, or rather what, the 86 is. Yet, not a single actual label accurately captures their essence, the real identity of a human being. So in other words, all of the labels is to describe what the 86 is not. Likewise, all these names describe the black cat. There's only one, but so many labels.
の先っちょだけ白い黒猫なんすよ。だから呼び名も黒で白で。
Yeah, I
そん
mean,
で特に決まった名前とかつけてなくて。適当に呼ぶもんだから。
everybody just calls it whatever based on their mood of the time. I reckon that's the same situation the 86 is under by the Republic officers. I'm sure they call them different name calling based on their mood and how drunk they are. They don't really care. Again, blatant dehumanization, blatant lack of respect and dignity.
最近そっち見て声かけりゃとりあえず寄ってくるようになってて。
Aww. Oh, shit. What just happens?
どうかしましたか？
What is that? There was a oh, is that the tempo of each episode? The first half is usually the lived experiences of the 86, and the second half of is the lived experience in the perspective of Lena or the Republic. Because that stump, obviously the that red-haired girl stumped out of the room because she got mad and everything I already commented about. So interesting framework, very interesting setup.
犬も飼っているのですか？
こいつがまた珍しい犬でさ。
こちらでは見られなかったのか？あなたに少し興味が湧いてきた。
本当ですか？
では、私から
Kai said that earlier.
聞いていいかな？
はい、なんでしょう。
あなたはどうしてそんなに私たちのことを気にするんだ？
Now we're getting to the heart of the matter and to address the elephant in the room. Yeah, why do you care so much, Lena?
それは昔戦場でプロセッサーの方に助けていただいたことがありまして、
I see.
彼は私にこう言ったんです。俺たちはこの国で生まれて育った共和国民だ。国を守って戦うのは市民の義務で誇り。だから俺たちは戦うんだと。助けてくれたあの人のその言葉に私たちは応えねばならないと考えます。
Oh, that must be his
戦えと
face.
求めておきながら見届けようともせずあなたたちを知ろうともしないのはそれに反する振る舞いです。許されることではありません。
ハンドラー1、
What?
あなたは少女だな。
What? What? Ah. Yo, with such a serious conversation about why I have this philosophy and why I treat every single 86 with dignity and respect, with this sincerity of this conversation, Kaya's like, are you a virgin? Yo. I think what Kaya meant to ask, but phrased differently, is about her naivete. It's very obvious. Lena's almost like a naive moral idealism, right? Definition right here. Lena's naive moral idealism is very, very palpable through the screen. She's very idealistic. In episode 2, she thought she could single-handedly challenge and break through the collective cognitive dissonance and emotional denial of the cadets in that academy, the lecture room. Of course, we saw that it was completely futile. Everyone else doubled down and called her crazy. No one was receptive to the truth. And as I wrote in the blurb for my episode 2 last week, truth is only relevant when the recipient party is willing to be receptive to the truth. Otherwise, it's just information, right? Information and truth are not the same. Facts are facts. Facts are factual things that happens, and there's records of evidence. But truth is only truth when we're willing to accept the facts. That's why truth and facts are not used the same. They don't represent the same thing. Although technically they should describe the same phenomena, but they're not, right? So I think "Are You a Virgin" is a very unexpected and abrupt way of highlighting Lena's naive moral idealism that I'm sure 86 they felt night after night during these calls. Again, Lena's cute, she's wholesome, she's great, but her empathy is without proximity. Yep, like the young girl who thinks the whole world is made of fields of flowers. Again, moral idealism and Lena's naivete.
傷ついてない完璧な理想を抱いているというか、ともかく私が言いたかったの。
Yeah?
目に向いていない。
Oof.
まして私たちなどに関わってはいけない。私たちはそんな殊勝な理由で戦ってなどいないし、だからあなたが私たちに関わる必要もない。誰かと変わった方がいい。後悔する前に。
So what Kaya is telling Lena is the representations of everything I talked about regarding the emotional and psychological state of 86. They have to numb and suppress and deny their grief and emotions because they have to keep going. They don't have the luxury or the privilege of staying emotionally attached to one another, let alone a far removed handler, an officer, an Alba officer on the other hand, or on the other side of the world. That's what she's cautioning Lena against. That, hey, I respect your dignity. I respect your integrity. Thank you for humanizing us. I mean it. Thank you so much, Lena. But this is not worth it for you. You're not going to survive this field because you're extremely ideal and you're very, very naive, like those flowers. The thing about flowers is they break easily. So I think even the words she used to describe Lena, you're like a small girl who believes the world is made out of fields of flowers. Twofold. Level 1, flower often symbolizes virginity in a lot of storytelling. But level 2, flowers are fragile. They're beautiful, but fragile and easy to break, just like Lena. Also, I get irked and it actually annoys me every time I look at their calendar year. Stellar year. Such a mockery, such an irony. Stellar year in my ass. Man. See, they already know. Premonition. How do they do it? Interesting. Also, I think the physical map has another layer of meaning and symbolism is that, again, only thing that is real, tangible, is the 86 because the Republic is all synthetic, like this control room. Everything stats, data, monitors, touchscreen. Yet the only physical archive of physical, tangible, touchable, real is the physical map, which represents 86. Nice. Okay, the hill's still there. Oh shit. Lena's using that girl as a decoy. Yo, based on all the foreshadowing, is the decoy gonna die? Oh shit, dude. Oh man. Okay. Very strategic. Oh, dude, the guns. I don't know who the gunslinger is, but gunslinger is gonna die, dude. I could tell. Oh, it's gonna be it was a calculated risk, but a risk nonetheless. And I think Lena's gonna pay the price emotionally, which is how episode 3 started, with her saying, "I'm sorry for your loss," and the blonde guy being absolutely pissed off, of course, because the decision to make gunslinger as a decoy was a strategic decision from bird's eye view. Bird's eye view is removed from the reality because they're 30,000 foot in the air, aka Lena's decision. It's true. That's deep. What's the point of information if it's not in good usage? Information is power, and one of the biggest privileges of the modern era is our access to information, period. Yet, in this setting, access to a map, which is advantageous and strategic for the 86, which will benefit the well-being and the state of affairs for the Republic, is classified. They don't even have access to physical maps, which are supposed to be used in a war setting. The amount of oppression is unfreaking believable. It's truly systematic. It's embedded in the fabric of every system, every level. Man, dude. You see, Lena, again, this is her naive moral idealism. Of course, you're humanizing them, you're talking to them, but buddy, little princess, Lena, they are literally in front of a battlefield. The enemies are about to come. Don't banter with them. Don't make small talk. This is not the moment to humanize them. They have to be hyper-focused, and you're a distraction. Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Oh,
目標
damn.
撃破
Wow.
第4小隊移動するレウコシア
Also, even the monitor in itself, it is control room, which is the reality of, or the perspective and the reality of all processors, Alba officers. They actually never see the death of any handlers on the other side. Or, sorry, they're the handlers, the processor, the 86. As a handler, as an Alba officer, you actually never get to witness the death of any processors in 8086 on the other side. That's yet another portrayal and mechanism of dehumanization. If you can't see your comrade dying with your own eyes in front of you, are they even your comrade? Or are they just a number, a location on the screen?
左から狙う援護を頼む了解キルシブデューテ
Alright, here's the decoy for Gunslinger. Oh shit! What? Wait, what?
嫌だ死にたくない
Dude, what? This is how we end the episode? Are you The Gunslinger died because there was a wetland that wasn't pointed out in the physical map, which I suspected was outdated. And because of that lack of awareness, again, access to information, there was an asymmetry of information. The information that Lena had access to was at Highlands, decoy, strategic positioning, perfect on paper, in theory, but in practice, with the stake of Gunslinger's life, with that calculated risk, the risk was unforeseeable. It was unforeseen risk of wetland. The Gunslinger got stuck and died. But literally what I just analyzed right before that scene, the actual death of Gunslinger is not portrayed or shown on the screen. Just that her location, her dot, her arrow disappeared, which symbolized the fragility of a human life, a human loss. And the Gunslinger, who just willingly volunteered to be a decoy, died as a result. And this is a gross miscalculation by Lena, because she is the handler and she's the officer at the end of the day. Oh, fuck, dude. Oh, I did not expect that to happen so quickly. Obviously, right now, the control room seems very ominous, very dark, red light all above. The music is sombering because obviously now Lena is dealt with the shock and the reality of her miscalculation, which ended with the outcome of Gunslinger's death. Also, one more thing, I think that's also deep. It just hit me. I think, as I've talked about, Lena represents empathy without proximity. And I think here, with the Gunslinger's death, it also indicates this one thing. Good intentions alone is not enough to address systematic oppression. Good intentions alone will not change our society for the better. And good intentions or empathy without proximity can come off as performative compassion. It's all performative. It's all virtue signaling. Why? Because consequences and risk are solely handled by the 86, by Spearhead. No matter how empathetic and invested in care Lena is, or any of the other Alba officers who are very benign and who represent good intention and empathy, it doesn't matter because Lena never has to take on the consequences of taking any risk, because all of the risk strictly falls to the burden of the 86. Yeah, this control room represents a removed illusion of safety and illusion of control by Lena and the Republic. They're sheltered from any risk, any casualties. I can't believe this show is 2020.
戦闘終了戦隊確認お疲れ様でした
So now this is the continuation of, or what happens right before the opening sequence. So the prequel to the opening sequence. I'm sorry for your loss.
キルシブリューテのこと
Oh, fuck.
残念でしたもっと早く地図を見つけていれば
That's the blonde guy who was pissed off.
86の1匹や2匹当死のうが家に帰ったらすっかり忘れて夕食楽しめる程度の話だろ
Ah.
き合ってやるよ。けどさ、こっちはたった今仲間が死んだんだ。
They did.
そういう時まであんたの偽善に付き合ってなんかいられないってそれくらい分かれよ。それとも何？仲間が死んでも何とも思ってないとか思ってる。ああ、そうか。
Damn. Ah.
何が違うんだよ。僕たちを戦場に放り出して兵器扱いして戦わせて、自分だけ壁の中でぬくぬく高みの見物決め込んで、
Exactly.
それを平気な顔で享受してる今のあんたのその状態が豚扱いじゃなくて、じゃあ一体何だって言うんだよ。 帰って強制してこの9年何百万人も死なせてるんだろ。それを止めもしないで、ただ毎日優しく話しかけてやればそれで人間扱いしてやれてるだなんてよく思えるな。
Oh,
そもそもあん
man.
た
Oh. That's true. Oh, man. Damn, dude. Harsh words. But it's true. Holy shit, dude. Man, that was... Wow, that was dark. That was heavy. So obviously next episode is called Real Name. But my last commentary to conclude today's episode is that's exactly what I said. Removed empathy or empathy without proximity can come off as performative compassion, virtual signaling. Think about the amount of resentment and bitterness that exploded on the other side of the calm, which I'm guessing is that blonde guy who was in the beginning of the episode. You do all these things, but it's all facade. You don't effing care because you don't have to take on any risk, any consequences. It's us who have to take on all the risk, casualties, and fatalities. You don't care. You don't even ask us about our real names. But I think the real meaning, the symbolism underneath all that situation, that dialogue, was two things. One, I think this is the first time, based on the show's reveal, Lena was confronted with her fragile, naive moral idealism, which is what I analyzed earlier. It's fragile because it's naive. It's naive because it has not been stress tested by life. That's why it's a moral idealism. It sounds great on paper. It sounds great in theory, but it's fragile. It's an illusion of control. It's an illusion. It's a bubble to be bursted anytime. Second thing, I think this is the first time the show portrayed moral injury. Definition right here. Moral injury is a level beyond being jaded and being burnt out. Moral injury means because of lack of impact with your action and involvement, you now feel like you're now a part of the problem. Again, I'll say that again. We feel moral injury because we are boggled down by the system. And no matter how much effort we exert, we still feel like we are part of the problem because nothing is changing. We're not seeing meaningful change. So over time, with moral injury, we feel like we are contributing further to the problem. And it is a horrible, horrible thing to feel and experience. It's very detrimental to our emotional health and mental health. And a lot of helpers, nurses, doctors, therapists, whatever, a lot of healthcare professionals experience moral injury because of the system that is outside of her control. Lena's face was absolutely distraught. She was shocked. We saw the camera zooming into her pupils. Her pupils are dilating, shaking throughout until a tear rolled down her face. That is her first taste of moral injury. I bet the next episode is going to start with either her monologue or some sort of a portrayal of Lena's thought process. He is right. Am I really making any changes? Am I really contributing to any meaningful progress or meaningful changes by the system? What's the point of me calling them every single night? What's the point of me being nice? Does any of that effort really matter? Do I matter? Does my objection to the Republic false propaganda, does that matter at all? Am I really making any differences whatsoever? That's moral injury. And that's what episode 3 is concluding with. I don't want to die. Moral injury. Oh, heavy episode. Anyway, enough of yapping for today. As always, I hope you enjoyed my in-depth yapping. And again, very, very, very powerful show. There was no peak actions in today's episode, but the psychological concept, the emotionality with the storytelling was absolutely peak. As always, I hope my videos make your day a little bit better. I don't know about 86 as a series because it's pretty dark, but thank you for tuning in as always. And remember, you matter, I matter, we all matter. Till next week. Peace.